Hello and welcome back to the Buddhist Wisdom channel. Many people think that meditation simply means sitting still and the mind will naturally become peaceful. But that's not really true. If inside you there is still anxiety, anger, and desire, then no matter how long you sit, your mind won't be at ease. In Buddhism, true calm comes from training yourself. Less craving, less anger, less negative thinking, and gradually letting go of the ego that always wants to be right or better than others. When you slow down and start caring more about others, your mind naturally becomes lighter, and that's when real peace begins to appear. What's unique about this path is that it doesn't ask you to believe right away. The spirit of Thich is this: don't force belief, but guide people to discover the truth for themselves. So Buddhism is not just about believing or not believing. It's more like a way to understand yourself. To understand why you feel sad, why you get angry, and why you suffer. One important thing is, don't be afraid to ask questions. Even the things you currently believe can be questioned. When you begin to question in the right way, you start to see yourself more clearly. There will be moments when you feel uncertain, when you don't know what's right, but that's exactly when you begin to understand more deeply. In Buddhism, it's not about arguing to win. It's about understanding, and when understanding arises, questions naturally begin to fade, and the mind becomes calmer. Some people ask, is Buddhism a form of science? The answer isn't found in theory, but in your own experience, because science, at its core, is also an attitude. Not believing blindly and being willing to change when you see something more accurate, Buddhism is the same, but instead of studying the outer world, it focuses on the inner world, your mind. Here's a simple example. When you get angry, modern science can measure your heart rate or physical reactions. But Buddhism points you inward to observe where anger begins, how it grows, and how it eventually fades away. When you clearly see this process, anger no longer controls you. You don't say things that hurt others. You don't act out of impulse. And because of that, you avoid a lot of unnecessary problems and suffering. In the end, the most important thing is this: real change doesn't come from the outside. It comes from understanding within yourself. A scientist usually believes something only when it can be tested and verified. But there is a very unique way of testing, something anyone can do. That is, to sit still and observe your own mind. No machines needed. No one else needs to prove anything to you. Just spend a little time each day watching what's happening inside. Thoughts come and go. Emotions arise and fade away. If you observe long enough, you'll begin to see something very clearly. The mind can become still, and that stillness is real. You'll also notice that your thoughts and emotions have been quietly influencing your life all along. And once you see that, they begin to lose their control over you. This is the core of Buddhism. It doesn't ask you to believe first. It encourages you to observe first. This spirit is clearly shown in the Kalama Sutta. When people were confused by too many different opinions, they asked Thich what they should believe. His answer was simple, but powerful. Don't believe something just because it's written in a book. Don't believe it because a respected person says it, and don't believe it just because the majority accepts it. Only when you see for yourself that it is true, that it helps you live better, that it brings peace to your mind, then you can accept it. Sounds a lot like science, right? But Buddhism still has a key difference. In science, the observer and the observed are usually separate, but in Buddhism, when you observe deeply enough, you begin to see they are not separate. You're not just watching anger. You realize you are part of that process. Anger arises, changes, and fades away. There is no fixed self standing outside controlling it. This might sounds strange, but it's actually similar to some discoveries in modern science. Physicists like Werner Heisenberg and Niels Bohr pointed out that observation itself can affect the outcome. In other words, the observer isn't completely separate. Meanwhile, Buddhism pointed out long ago that the world you experience is always connected to your mind, not as something to believe, but something you can directly see. Some great scientists have also shown interest in this idea. Albert Einstein once suggested that Buddhism is a system of thought that aligns closely with the spirit of science. Carl Jung also appreciated the depth of Buddhism's exploration of the human mind. So in the end, is Buddhism a science? If you define science as machines, measurements, and experiments, then not exactly. But if science means honestly exploring truth without bias, then Buddhism is very similar. Because in Buddhism, each person can run their own experiment. The mind is the field, attention is the tool, and awareness is the result. No blind belief required, just direct experience. And from here, an interesting question arises. If it doesn't require belief, doesn't rely on doctrine, and always encourages personal verification, then is Buddhism really a religion in the usual sense? Or is it a path to understanding yourself? If you found this meaningful, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next video. Thank you.